Yes, just living the mom dream, you know?
Welcome to Career Mama Stories, where we talk to moms who not only have one career, they have two, raising their children and doing the work that they love. Enjoy.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So I am Bree Falato. I run a financial planning practice with Northwestern Mutual. I have 3 little kiddos, Shane, who's 10, Damon, who is 8, and Sophie, who will be 3 in November. We live in Union City, New Jersey, my husband and 3 kids and our turtle, Shelly. And we have been here for about 5 years. So I've been in the area for a long time. I have the kids like sequestered upstairs, so fingers crossed it stays that way.
And you know, if it doesn't, the audience will totally understand.
That's true, right?
3 kids. Oh my gosh. I have a one and only. Although I was the second of 5, and the 3 after me were 7 years my junior. And so I was like the live-in nanny, right? And I remember when I was 16, I was like, I'm never having children. So the fact that I ended up with one is probably a miracle.
Yeah, I understand. My oldest one is often like, why do I have to make a bottle? Why do I have to do this? I'm like, because you can, and I'm busy right now. So help me out. That's it. That's why.
Yeah, that's your job.
Why we had
help. Yeah, I mean, it's the best education kids can have, really.
Yeah.
Help out. Yeah, it's huge.
My boys are surprisingly very good with their baby sister. So it's sweet to see. You know,
awesome.
They all fight all the time. I think the little one is usually the instigator too. She's picked up some terrible habits from her brothers, like her favorite words: "Go away, get out, leave me alone." Oh, she's so sweet and cute and little. Look at that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Does she have an accent, kind of like a Jersey Shore accent, or is that just her age?
Yeah, just her age, just the way she pronounces some things. We don't, I mean, I do, especially I've had a couple drinks, then I get super Jersey, then everybody's like, oh, there it is, do another. But my husband's from Dublin, Ireland. So I think him having an Irish accent kind of balances my kids' accents out. They're kind of neutral, which is interesting.
So interesting. I'm huge lover of like language and culture and accents. So that's pretty cool. When I was little, I couldn't pronounce my R's. And my mom at one point said to me, she's like, you sound like a little New Jersey kid. That's always stuck with me. And anyway, it's funny. Okay. So now we're going to jump into kind of your pandemic journey.
Oh yeah.
As a mama and a working mom, right? So you have your own business.
Yes, I did not. I changed careers prior to the pandemic. I was the director of development for a nonprofit. It was national, based in Manhattan. I was doing my daily commute into Manhattan every day, which was wild because my husband works opposite hours. And there were times where we would drag those poor children on the bus into Manhattan so I could run across town to pick them up from my husband's job to take them right back to our house. And I got laid off, philanthropy and raising funds and global economic crises don't really go hand in hand. So I got laid off in April. And I kind of think it was a blessing in disguise. I was really burnt out of that life, doing the commute, doing all of that. I was kind of burnt out in those roles. So I took a little while and I just really needed something that allowed me a little more autonomy and independence. But I also wanted something I could draw on my past skills. So I did a lot of strategy work prior to this. I managed budgets. I don't know how I always ended up in those roles, but I was doing budget management and setting our goals and really figuring out how we're getting there from a financial standpoint. So I started to explore opportunities in financial advising. And I ended up with Northwestern because it really kind of ticked all the boxes for me. It allowed me to have that independence. I am an independent contractor. I do not work for them directly. However, I'm able to get that support from them, and they really helped develop me and send me on that path, you know, getting my license, setting me up, giving me the training I needed to really be successful in this business. They are really championing women in this industry. As you can imagine, it is not a very women-heavy industry. And they really are doing the work to bring women to have a seat at the table, which is something that was also really important to me. And, you know, they know how crazy my life is. Right now, especially, my kids weren't in school until May, where they went 2 days a week from 8 to 12. My daughter has never been in daycare or anything like that, so she's been home this whole time. And they really allowed me the flexibility to kind of build my business around the chaos and insanity that was going on. You know, nobody ever says anything to me when my daughter walks in and sits on my lap and waves hello to everybody. We always joke when she goes to preschool, like instead of learning like her numbers and alphabet, she's going to be talking like backdoor Roths and what the market's doing, because she sits on all of my Zoom calls in the morning discussing those things. So, you know, it really was a great place to end up. It gives me that independence I needed, because there were some crazy things happening all around me during this. I know last time we talked, I told you some of the crazy children's stories. There goes one in the background. He's ducking. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience. I really love it. I'm able to work with, you know, I focus on helping women and women entrepreneurs really hit those goals and build their business and make sure they're secure so that they can take their mind off of that every day, having to make sure my household is running like this. I can focus on my business and really put all I have into it. That was important for me, coming from a social impact philanthropy role, to be able to still really help and champion people that I really think women are we underestimate ourselves, I think, and we don't give ourselves enough that leeway. So being able to support and lift them up so they're able to focus and have successful businesses is something really important to me. So.
Awesome. Okay, really want you to share some of your stories about your kids and working from home.
Oh yeah, where do I begin?
Which one do you pick?
That's really the question, right? Which one do I pick? I mean, there's the microwave story, because that was always fun. You know, we flipped our house around when COVID started, and moved our living room to our dining room. So our living room, they could have more space to play around. We're in a city house, you know, it's small. And so now I'm back in the dining room. You can see my cabinets behind me. So I had like this perfect view of the kitchen from the living room. And my son came up to me one day and said, really nonchalantly too, which was pretty funny. Hey mom, there's flames shooting out of the microwave, and I'm on a Zoom with like 8 million people. And I'm also not muted because I was about to say something. And I look over and there's flames like coming up in the microwave. And my son had been cooking ramen and forgot to take the flavor packet out of the ramen container. So it was literally on fire. So I went running, grabbed it, like threw it in the sink, burnt myself, of course, and then like ran back in, hit mute, ran back out. And surprisingly enough, the microwave lasted for 2 more days after that before I went to go cook something, and then it just went like wah, wah, wah. And that was it. But what else? What other insane stories could I tell you? Oh, there's the bathtub story. So that was really fun. I was in the middle of a meeting. I think my husband had gotten home at 4, so I was sleeping. And my daughter was upstairs. My kids were in class. and my daughter was watching television. I guess she asked one of my kids to turn the bath on for her, and so got in, but then he just forgot and left the water running, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, what's that noise? And like drips stuff, and I go into the kitchen and there's water pouring down my kitchen. Then I like freak out. I run upstairs and there she is in the tub. The water's overflow. She's just playing. I'm like, oh, fine. I'm yelling at my son. I'm like, did you turn the water? Like, you put your sister in the bath and you weren't paying attention? Like, what is wrong with you? And there's just water everywhere. I had to grab like every towel I owned, like throw it on the floor. We're getting blankets, trying to mop it up. So I have to get my entire kitchen ceiling replaced. So that's fun. So the pandemic incidents have just been a lot. They're crazy. They're wild. We've had a couple broken phones and things like that. You know, it was, everybody used to say during the height over here, don't fall off that. Don't get hurt. We're not going to the hospital right now. So thank God my son waited until it was like slowed in July and he was sliding down the banister, which I'm constantly saying, don't slide down the banister, and slid down the banister and fell off of the banister and fractured his wrist in 3 places. So that was a regular trip to the orthopedic surgeon once a week. Or can't have meetings on Mondays because I'm at the orthopedic surgeon an hour away. So yeah, there's been a lot. There are a lot. You know, just school things too, trying to balance the school and the work. And at one point I had to have like my one son, he just couldn't focus in his schoolwork. So I would have to have him literally sit next to me while I'm working in a meeting while he is in class with his headphones on, so that he couldn't hear what I'm doing and I'm not disturbing him. So that's fun. It's really easy to work with a 8-year-old sitting literally at your elbow. Lots of concentration. Oh, and the mooning story. I told you the mooning story. That was fun. I was on a networking call with women entrepreneurs of Hudson County, which is here in the area. And I had the camera facing backwards. I don't think he noticed, and I'm not even sure why he did it, but he just mooned the camera in front of like 15 women on this video conferencing call. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I could see it because I had it like flipped so I could see him showing his butt to the camera in the background. I'm like, what? Why would you do that? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're on camera. He was like, oh my God, I'd show my butt to everybody. I'm like, yes. Well, what would compel you to show your butt to everybody? Why? So yeah, it's been an interesting ride on Zoom and other things. So
were any of those things recorded? You remember?
You know, the butt one might be recorded. I believe that the microwave fire was recorded as well, but like you couldn't see the flames, just me taking off and running towards them.
So funny if you had that footage. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I do believe that the butt one was recorded. They record those meetings. So.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah, flicking the light on and off. Yeah.
So cute. She is going to be a strong, independent woman, right? They're the hardest to raise.
She was born on her own too. They call her a bed baby because she was born with no doctors, no anything. She literally like plopped out on the bed and we all just stared at her for a couple minutes. And then my husband had like somehow the wherewithal to look at the clock and be like, this is the time she was born. And finally everybody just like scooped her up. But we always say like, you came into this world with some fierce determination and independence. And I have a feeling it's not going anywhere. Yep. You want to say hi?
There she is. Hi. How are you?
Here you go. You want the book? Okay.
It's so cute.
We're going to have to sit here for a bit.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and she's welcome to be on the call if you're okay with that. Let me zoom in a little bit. So the first question is, when you see these images, can you relate to them? Do any of them spark like, oh my gosh, that's me on a daily basis? Like, what is your sentiment when you first look at them?
Oh yeah, number 4. I think there's nothing more clear than number 4. Everything else looks so nice and happy. It's we're out of this. We're so hungry. We're on Zoom. You're on Zoom. I don't care. And we're reading a book over here on my lap while I'm doing this call with you. Actually, she's drawing on it with eyeliner now. So, okay.
Oh my God, I love it. Oh, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, one of the reasons why they look so peaceful and like it's not from the mom's perspective. That's the point. It's the daughter taught, and I don't have the words on here on purpose, so I just want to see how you feel. The daughter talks about how great most moments were. And then there's times where she talks about like being in trouble or mom can't spend time with me. So the point is to show moms like from the child's perspective, their experience, and to kind of fuel us like, okay, we're not doing everything wrong. Right?
Yeah. No, and I think, if we had to look back and think about it, those moments where chaos is happening are the ones that are going to like stand out. But then there were so many great moments. Like when we first went into lockdown, we would go, my kids went into the basement and found the strobe light for Christmas, which I don't know why we even bought, because we live in a row house. So like we don't have a yard. So I don't know what we were thinking. But we would shut all the lights off in the kitchen, turn the strobe light on, and have dance parties. Like it's those little moments. We definitely eat together more as a family. There's no more like running in the door and I eat a can of olives while I'm standing over the kitchen sink and like toss some food down for them. Whatever takeout I ordered on the bus on the way home, so it would be there when we got there. So there's definitely those moments that I think are there, and hopefully they think that.
We'll do another book later. Their actual perspective.
Yeah, you definitely tend to think of like the chaos that you've been enduring and all of this, but there's definitely, and I look at it from the perspective of my kids, my older two. I had a very different job back then. I traveled a lot. I have pictures of them where I wouldn't even put my suitcases away, of them like sitting in my suitcases because I just left them there to get ready for the next trip. I'm traveling across the country for like one day to LA, back, one day to Texas, back. So I wasn't around as much. They always were in daycare from the moment they like hit 13 weeks and I had to go back to work. And I have now been home with her since she was 1 year old. So I wonder what, the difference of the perspective. I know my boys appreciate me being home a lot more. They said as much. Like, we like when you're able to pick us up from school, and we like when you're able to do this with us and those things. So that is definitely, I think, the better flip side of this whole thing is just being able to really spend more time with them. And focus on them instead of having to focus and run around and just have chaos all times. So that has been definitely, I think, a highlight for me during this whole thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of moms are having a really hard time either finding a new job that will allow that flexibility because they don't want to give that up now. And we've seen how it's possible, right? So many companies have flourished and survived with parents as their employees making it work. So it's going to be interesting to see what the new age looks like.
Absolutely. I'm lucky enough to be at a place where I don't need to be in an office 24/7. I do elect to go in because it's there, and sometimes I just need to step away and have that, not all of this going on in the background. But I am lucky enough to be in a place where I can sit in my dining room and talk to you, instead of having to rush out in the morning and drop everybody off and get there. I mean, it's stressful, it's chaos for you. And, unfortunately, I feel it falls a lot on women. I mean, we know it falls a lot on women. It's 60% of women are caregivers, whether it be for children or, grown parents or other extended family members. And we see it through the pandemic that it really fell on women as a whole to kind of give up their careers and give up what they were doing to kind of step into this new role of having to be here 24/7. So it'll be interesting as things go back to normal, how this plays out and where women are going to end up. I mean, and it's been great to see women as entrepreneurs flourish through this, because so many people have stepped back, yourself included, and said, hey, this isn't working for me anymore. And I have always wanted to do something else. Now here's my time. Like, here's where I can go out and I can do this. It's really given you the opportunity to take that step back and to reevaluate and go forward in a new direction, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I echo everything you just said. Yeah. The silver linings, I think moms are actually probably the best at figuring out what the silver lining is always.
Yeah, exactly. Even my husband, though, we were able to, he'd been in the city working for years, and he's in hospitality and in Manhattan, things close at 4. You're not leaving till 5:30. Like, he was walking in the door as my kids were going down to school most mornings. So being able to say, hey, do I really need to be there anymore? I can go down the street from my house 15 minutes and my hours are shorter and it's just easier. I can walk there and back. So, I think that readjustment kind of for everybody, outside, especially women, but kind of for everybody to really be able to reevaluate and take a step back.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I ask a loaded question, so I have a feeling you'll be able to answer it, but if you can't, you can send me your thoughts later.
Yeah.
If we get any PR pickup or just, a good audience for this series, the idea is to help women feel they're not alone, but also try to put some messaging out there from the moms that were affected in our stories. Is there anything that you would love to, someone in authority or government officials, like, what do moms need?
Support and understanding. I think it's really just the most, like I said, 60% of caregiving falls onto us. Why do we have to be in a position to give up something we may have worked for? Where's our assistance with childcare? Where is the help that we need? Childcare is almost unattainable for some people, and it's that choice of, do I go back to work or do I stay home? And why do I have to be in this position of choosing both? I think we just need that support to really put us in the position. If I choose to go to work, if I choose to go work in a corporation, why am I necessarily placed in a position where I may be pushed out the door because I can't afford childcare and I don't? And like, this pandemic has highlighted that by droves. We had to leave the workforce. There was no options or opportunity. And a lot of people took steps back and are not in careers that maybe pay as much because they're exploring other options. So now how are we supposed to go back to putting kids in childcare? I really think that's where we go. Like, how do we support women? We also are great leaders and we do great things, like put mom on the resume. We're multitasking over here. I've got like dishwasher running, 3 kids in the background. I'm talking to you. I've got 48 spreadsheets open in the back of our Zoom call.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you give us these opportunities and help us by supporting us to put us in a position where we can flourish, I think that's really something important that we need to address.
I love it. So every single mama I've talked to says childcare.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing, trying to figure it out. Where are you going? My boys don't have aftercare at school. It's not an option. So finding an aftercare, finding a pickup, putting my trust in having people I don't know pick my children up and walk them to another facility. And then my daughter is in another facility. And next year my son will be in another school. Like, how do I manage and juggle 3 kids in 3 different places who all have the same release time?
Mhm.
You know, help me out. I gotta figure it out. So
I know you do. You figure it out. And yeah. So
Yeah.
my final words to you, because I need to let you go and give you some time back so you can do what you need to do. Final words is Bree. What? She fell off.
Coloring on diving chair. That's okay. Keep going.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun talking to you. Please stay in touch. If there's anything else I can do to help you,
Yeah.
that's my goal, is to just help you out too. And I know
Yeah.
that's your goal
Yeah.
as a small business owner as well.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say is, you're seen, mama. I know your kids are telling you, I'm so glad to hear that they're telling you how much they appreciate you, but I also appreciate you because you're an example for my own daughter and my family. And so thank you. This is so energizing to hear your stories. And no, we're not alone.
Yes, likewise. I appreciate what you're doing. It's really important to highlight all that we're going through. I'm exhausted, and it was like 98 degrees out yesterday, and for whatever reason, I decided to wear jeans, which was a big, big mistake on my part. I'm like, why is my backpack wet? I'm like, oh, that's gross. That's me. That's my body's wet. Gross. Okay.
It's like we as moms are watching out for everyone else's everything. And then when it comes to us, we're like, wait, what? How do I even remember how to take care of myself?
Yeah. Jeans, 98 degrees out with sneakers and socks. Yeah. This is
Right. That works.